You think the deep web is just drugs and hackers? That's what I thought, until I found this. And if you're still listening by the time I finish, you'll wish you had clicked away. I shouldn't be telling you any of this. In fact, if I suddenly go silent, you'll know why. Most stories about the deep web are recycled horror cliches, like cheap copies of urban legends passed around on Reddit. I used to roll my eyes at them too. But what I'm about to share isn't some campfire tale meant to get clicks. It's the kind of knowledge that gnaws at the edge of your sanity just for knowing it exists. A file you don't download, a site you don't click, a corner of the internet that shouldn't be real but is. I never believed in forbidden knowledge. Not until I saw something that made me understand why people disappear without a trace after browsing too far. The forums joke about it. Conspiracies speculate about government stings, serial killers, or hackers looking for easy prey. But that's not it. The truth is worse, because it doesn't just end with the person who finds it. It spreads, like rot, through anyone who hears about it. That's you, by the way. You're already in deeper than you realize. I wish I could package this story neatly, like a movie with an ending where the hero wins. But this isn't that kind of story. This is a warning, and warnings don't come with guarantees. I've seen enough to know that once you cross a certain threshold, there's no logging off. You can close your laptop, unplug your modem, smash your hard drive. It doesn't matter. Some doors, once opened, stay open. It started with something small. A glitch. A link that shouldn't have been clickable. A file that downloaded itself. At the time, I didn't think much of it. I was careless. Too curious for my own good. And maybe that's why I'm here now, typing this like a confessional for strangers who will never believe me.
I can already hear the cynics. If this were real, why are you still alive to talk about it? And the answer is simple. I don't think I will be for long. Maybe that's melodramatic. Or maybe by the time you scroll through the comments under this video, mine will stop halfway through a sentence. If that happens, know that I didn't choose to stop. The site had no name. Not one you could search for, anyway. It was hidden like a splinter under the skin of the internet, buried under dead links and outdated forums. When I first landed there, I thought it was just another creepy page built to spook people like me. Dark background, scrolling text, cryptic symbols. But there was something different about it. The way it loaded felt wrong. Like it wasn't pulling information from a server, but from me. And then came the file. I didn't click download. It just appeared, sitting on my desktop with no name, no extension. A blank icon, like a door without a label. My antivirus didn't detect anything. My firewall didn't even blink. It was as if the file had always been there, waiting for me to notice. I know I should have deleted it. I know I should have wiped my system clean and forgotten about it. But curiosity is a knife, and it cuts both ways. I opened it, and from that moment, everything changed. Don't make the same mistake I did. If you ever stumble into something you weren't meant to find, don't try to be clever. Don't try to understand. Just walk away. Because what was inside that file wasn't just data. It wasn't just a virus or malware or some hacker's cruel prank. It was something else. Something older, something patient, something that doesn't belong on a computer screen at all. And the worst part? I don't think I was the first to see it. I don't think I'll be the last either. It started like any other night, but nothing stayed normal. It was just another night. That's what makes it worse. Honestly, the fact that everything started so ordinary. No thunderstorm outside, no power outage, no spooky music playing in the background. Just me, my desk, the glow of my monitor, and a pile of junk food wrappers building a small shrine to insomnia. I couldn't sleep. I rarely can. Some people drown their sleepless nights in Netflix binges or doom-scrolling social media. Me? I've always had this fascination with the corners of the internet that most people ignore. Maybe it was boredom, maybe curiosity, or maybe something in me has always wanted to look behind doors I wasn't supposed to open. I remember setting up for the night like it was a ritual. The room was dim except for the screen. A half-empty can of energy drink sweating on the desk. Headphones snug over my ears, drowning out the silence with faint lo-fi beats from YouTube. I had my VPN running, Tor browser open. That little onion icon glowing green felt like armor, like I was untouchable. Safe. Protected. I wasn't doing anything special at first, just browsing forums, old conspiracy threads, collections of deep web horror stories that were half copy-pasted creepypastas. Most of it was laughable. People exaggerating about hitman sites or haunted chat rooms, probably typing from their mom's basement. I told myself I was smarter than that, smarter than them. But sometimes, when you tell yourself you're too smart to fall for something, that's when you're already falling. Around 2 a.m., I found myself in a forum I hadn't seen before. It wasn't flashy, just text on a black background. A place where old posts died slow deaths, archived threads from years ago. The kind of place where you can tell only a handful of users ever post, and most of them haven't logged in for months. I was scrolling absent-mindedly when I saw a thread title that made me stop. The archive isn't for everyone. I thought it was some philosophical nonsense. A collection of ebooks, maybe. But when I clicked inside, the comments weren't what I expected. Most were short, cryptic. Things like, "Don't ask for it if you're not ready. Too many people disappear. They're watching the watchers." The strangest part? A few comments had timestamps from years ago, but the usernames were blurred out, as if they'd been erased, leaving only the words behind. At first, I smirked. This was classic ARG bait, right? A game. A puzzle meant to lure curious insomniacs like me deeper into the maze. I almost closed the tab, but one reply caught my eye. It wasn't old. It was fresh. Just posted minutes before I stumbled onto the thread. The file finds you when it's ready. Something about that phrasing made my skin crawl. I checked the username, blank. Not anonymous. Not even a string of random characters. Just nothing. And then, beneath it, like the universe was laughing at me, there was a single clickable word. Enter. Now, I've seen my share of shady links online. 99% of the time, they lead to dead pages, scams, or malware. And normally, I'd never be reckless enough to click one, especially not in a place like this. But you have to understand, I was tired, curious, and maybe just stupid enough to think I was untouchable behind my VPN. I hovered my cursor over it. The link didn't preview. No URL popped up at the bottom of the screen. It was just there, like a hole in the page, waiting to swallow me whole. Every instinct in me said, don't. But curiosity isn't logical. It doesn't care about instincts. So of course, I clicked it. That's where the nightmare began. This wasn't a marketplace. It was documentation. The page that opened after I clicked enter didn't look like anything I'd seen on the deep web before. No neon fonts, no edgy graphics, no endless lists of drugs, fake passports, or ransomware tutorials. Just a black screen with white text, minimal, sterile, like a government database that had been stripped down to its bones. At the top of the page was a single phrase in bold. The archive is not for you. Beneath it, 3 categories appeared in a neat vertical list. Experiments, discards, observations, no explanations, no navigation buttons. Just those 3 words, waiting for me to choose. I sat back, my hand frozen on the mouse. This was different. It didn't feel like a prank site anymore. It felt intentional. Against my better judgment, I clicked experiments. The screen flickered, like the page resisted opening. When it finally did, I found a list of files, each with cold, clinical names like case_0411_resonance, test_029_noncompliant, protocol_089_expired. Next to them were dates that stretched back years, some more recent than I wanted to believe. Out of morbid curiosity, I clicked one. It opened to a block of text that looked like a lab report. But the subject described inside wasn't an animal. It was a person. Subject, male, 27. Exposure to signal resulted in irreversible loss of speech. Subject communicates only through mimicked voices of deceased relatives. Escalation to phase 3 recommended. I blinked hard, waiting for the punchline. But there wasn't one. Just clinical horror. I clicked another. Subject, female, 9. Left unattended in room for 72 hours. Returned compliant, though unable to recognize family members. Subject expresses constant desire to go back. Recommend permanent placement. My stomach turned. Back on the main menu, I tried discards. This one didn't contain reports. Instead, it was filled with blurry images. Faces half-lit, twisted, caught in moments of fear or confusion. Some were pixelated, others corrupted by glitches. One image showed a woman screaming mid-motion, her mouth distorted as though the frame had melted. Another showed a man curled in the corner of a room with walls covered in peeling paint. Beneath each photo was a single word, unfit, rejected, removed. That was when I noticed the first glitch. In the corner of the page, for half a second, I saw it. My own username. The one I used for throwaway accounts. Then it vanished. I refreshed. Nothing. Just the unsettling photos staring back at me. My pulse quickened. I told myself it was just a script on the site pulling from my browser. I'd seen it before. Cheap scare tactics meant to make you think you were being watched. But deep down, I knew this wasn't the same. Hesitating, I clicked the last category, observations. This one wasn't reports or pictures. It was threads, chat-style text, each one labeled like a case file. And the conversations, they didn't sound human. OBS_117_A. The subject resists less when isolated. OBS_117_B. Agreed. Family bonds complicate compliance. OBS_117_A. Recommend relocation within 48 hours. Monitor reactions to loss. OBS_117_B. Ensure file updated. No repeats of last incident. I scrolled faster, my eyes darting across thread after thread. The language was always the same. Detached, clinical, as if whoever was writing saw people as lab rats. Some threads even had timestamps, recent ones, as though these observations were still happening right now. And then I found one that froze me cold. OBS_231_A. Subject, online now. Behavior, insomniac, exploratory. Risk level, moderate. OBS_231_B. Monitoring. File will begin soon. The timestamp was from minutes ago. I stared at the screen, my throat dry, heart pounding. That couldn't be about me. It was coincidence. Just paranoia messing with me, right? Then the cursor moved on its own. I didn't touch the mouse, didn't press a key, but the cursor slid across the screen, hovered over a file at the bottom of the page labeled simply, download. Before I could react, the page glitched. My screen went black, then flashed white. A download window popped up. File, OBS_231_record.zip. And it started downloading automatically. I yanked my mouse, slammed ESC, tried to cancel. But no matter what I did, the progress bar crept forward. 10%, 30, 50. By the time it hit 100, I was shaking. A folder appeared on my desktop, pulsing with that same name, OBS_231_record. And the worst part? It wasn't locked. It was waiting for me to open it. When the folder appeared on my desktop, I froze. It didn't have a normal icon, no neat blue file, no zip symbol, just a pulsing square of static, like someone had dragged a broken TV onto my computer screen. Its name wasn't OBS_231_record.zip anymore. The title had stripped itself down to nothing but 3 dots. For a long moment, I hovered over it. Every instinct screamed at me to delete it. Run a wipe, smash the drive, whatever it took to make sure this thing never touched my machine again. But curiosity is a slow poison. It whispers that you're in control, that one peek won't hurt. And I'd already fallen for its voice too many times tonight. So I double-clicked. Inside, there was only one folder /vid/. The breath caught in my throat. This wasn't a text file, wasn't a string of creepy reports or photos. These were videos. I told myself I'd just open one. Just one. Then I'd stop. The first clip was grainy, black and white, like it had been shot on a security camera from the 80s. A kitchen. Small, cluttered. A man in his 40s sitting at the table, head in his hands. Nothing happened for the first 30 seconds. Then, without warning, he snapped his head up, stared straight into the camera, straight through the screen, and whispered something I couldn't hear. I skipped to the next. This one showed a child's bedroom. A little girl curled under the covers, clutching a stuffed animal. The footage ran for minutes. She tossed, turned, whimpered in her sleep. At first, I thought it was just a creepy voyeuristic shot, until, at the very end, the closet door behind her opened a crack. I slammed pause. My skin crawled. I should have stopped right there. Closed the folder, shut down the computer, thrown it out the window. But I didn't. I opened another. And another. They all had the same structure. Fixed cameras in private homes. Living rooms, bedrooms, hallways. Strangers living out their lives in silence, unaware they were being watched. Some just showed people eating dinner. Others, I don't even want to describe them. I can't. You'll think I'm lying, or worse, you'll try to find this file yourself. But I will say this. The deeper I went, the darker the clips became, until I found one that made my blood run cold. The camera flickered on to show a bedroom. My bedroom. The same crooked blinds, the same half-broken lamp on the nightstand, the same pile of laundry I'd been ignoring for days. At first the room was empty, just a still shot of my space, eerily quiet. Then, after about 20 seconds, I walked in. Not a lookalike, not some trick of memory. Me. Same shirt I was wearing that night. Same tired slump in my shoulders. I watched myself sit at the desk, turn on my monitor, open the exact same browser window I had opened right then. It wasn't surveillance of the past. It was showing me now. My stomach lurched. I pushed my chair back so hard it scraped across the floor. I spun around, scanning the corners of my room, searching for the hidden camera. But there was nothing. Just me, the screen, and the suffocating silence of a room that suddenly felt too small. When I turned back, the video had changed. The screen me was still at the desk, but he wasn't mimicking my movements anymore. His head was tilted at an unnatural angle, staring directly into the lens. His lips curled into a slow, deliberate smile. I hit escape, tried to close the player, but the cursor wouldn't move. The mouse might as well have been dead. Then the folder refreshed on its own. New files appeared in the list, one after another, each with a timestamp that matched the exact moment I was sitting there. Live footage. It was updating itself, creating new videos faster than I could even watch them. One file blinked into existence with my full name in the title. Not my username, not my email, my real name. And before I could stop it, before I could tear my eyes from the screen, the clip began to play. At first, I told myself what I'd seen could be explained. Maybe it was some old footage ripped from hacked webcams. Maybe someone had broken into my Wi-Fi. Maybe there was a logical reason my own room had appeared. But the next wave of files shattered those excuses. The folder updated again, dozens of new videos, their names just timestamps. I clicked the first one, hands shaking. It opened to a grainy feed of an office. Desks, fluorescent lights, a handful of tired workers bent over keyboards. It took me a second to recognize one of them. Sarah, a co-worker from my last job, the one I hadn't spoken to in over a year. She looked the same, hair tied back, glasses sliding down her nose as she typed. She didn't know she was being watched. None of them did. I clicked another. This one showed a classroom. Not kids, but adults in stiff plastic chairs, a night class of some kind. And in the second row, Jeremy, an old classmate from high school. I hadn't thought of him in years, but I knew that slouch, that nervous tapping of his leg. Coincidence, I thought. Just coincidence. But the pit in my stomach told me otherwise. The next clip proved it. The feed blinked to life, showing a cramped bedroom lit by the pale glow of a laptop. On the screen was a Discord call. I squinted, leaned closer, and my blood ran cold. The names in the chat list were my online friends. People I still talked to. People who'd never shared their webcams, never turned on video. And yet here they were, exposed, each frozen in their own little windows. My heart thudded in my chest. These weren't random recordings. These were my connections. My life. The people tethered to me by memory and routine. And worse, these weren't recordings at all. Because in the corner of the feed, I saw the date and time. Not from last week, not from last month. The exact moment. The exact second. Live. These aren't recordings, I whispered. My throat was dry. They're live. For a moment, I just stared, paralyzed by the enormity of it. Whoever, or whatever, was behind this wasn't just dredging up old files. They were watching. Now. Always. I unmuted the feed, desperate to catch some background noise that would explain this. Instead, I heard something else. A whisper. Faint, stretched, distorted like it had been dragged across static. Why did you come back? My pulse spiked. I leaned forward, straining to hear. Another voice joined in, overlapping the first. Different tone, different cadence, but the same words. Why did you come back? Clip after clip, video after video, the same question threaded through them all. Whispers from strangers, co-workers, friends. All of them asking me the same thing, like they knew me, like I'd broken some silent agreement by opening this folder. I tried to close the feed, but the folder refreshed again, as if mocking me. More files, more names, more faces. Some I recognized, some I didn't. All of them watching, all of them whispering. I yanked the Ethernet cable from the wall. No internet, no connection, yet the videos kept playing. The feed of Sarah at her desk, Jeremy and his class, my online friends, their webcams flickering like old film. All of it continuing without a hiccup, as if the archive wasn't connected to the net at all, like it was connected directly to me. The whispers grew louder, layered on top of each other until they became a chorus. My name buried in the static, spoken in voices I knew and voices I didn't. Why did you come back? I slammed the laptop shut. The sound stopped. My room was silent again, save for my ragged breathing. I sat there in the dark, convincing myself I'd imagined it, that I'd just spooked myself with coincidence and paranoia. Then my screen lit up. The laptop had opened the folder again on its own. A new window blinked into existence. This time not a video file, but a chat box. The text appeared slowly, one keystroke at a time. Welcome back. And before I could slam the lid shut again, another message appeared. Oh, we missed you. The chat box didn't blink like a program. It moved like a living thing, letters dragging themselves across the window with an impatience that felt personal. For a second I thought it was a bot, a prank. Maybe an ARG. Maybe exactly what I wanted. Proof that the archive was elaborate and I had fallen for it. The first message appeared slowly, one character at a time. Hello. It was nothing. One syllable. But it hit the room like a hard knock. My hands went cold. I expected some weak reveal, some stage scare. The window kept typing. We see you. I laughed, too loud for the dark. Okay, I said to the empty room. Prank. I clicked to close the chat. The X didn't respond. The cursor hovered as if the window decided I wasn't allowed to leave. Why did you come back? It used my real name. Not a handle. Not an alt. My skin prickled. I checked the webcam. No light. The room was lit only by the monitor and distant street light. The chat went on. We're glad you're here. My fingers hovered above the keys. I typed the obvious. Who is this? The reply came almost immediately. Observer. Archivist. Necessary party. The words sounded like office titles on a terrible file. They weren't human names. They were roles. The message pulsed, waiting. The room felt thin, like a membrane. Why my videos? Why my life? The answer was cold. You clicked. You watched. They choose. They choose. Not random. Not algorithmic. Choice. The word landed like a stone. Nausea crept up my spine that I thought of erased usernames on forums, accounts that stopped posting overnight, threads that ended mid-word. Coincidence was a softer lie than what I was reading. I typed faster. Who are they? A string of clinical statements answered. We catalog. We observe. We correct. Reaction. Fear. Procedure. Encourage. Outcome. Data. It read like a protocol. My screen felt suddenly bureaucratic. People reduced to variables. I pictured rows of files, tags, statuses, observed, pending, terminated. The last word made my stomach drop. Some subjects resisted. Some improved. Some were terminated. I tried to make a joke, to break the building panic. Instead, I slammed the desk. This is a sick prank, I said aloud. Show yourself. We are not a prank. The chat changed tone then. Almost bored, almost tender. Spread. Share. Gather. The archivist noted. My throat closed. The line implied purpose. They wanted me to disseminate. I thought of how easily I share odd threads to friends, how I might have sent a link as a joke. How often do we pass strange things along because the curiosity itch is satisfying? The archive used that itch as a mechanism. I typed defiantly. I won't help you. You already have. The sentence was soft, but absolute. I had clicked. I had read. I had become a carrier. Suddenly, that small thrill of discovery felt like complicity. A file saved itself on my desktop. Conversation _log_ my name _23:14. I hadn't authorized it. It existed. The program recorded me as surely as I recorded it. My hands trembled. Anger flickered, short, hot. If this is a joke, if you're doing this to scare people, why? I demanded. To observe reaction. To refine. The answer felt clinical and final. The chat began listing names and dates, short verdicts beside them. A montage of tiny lives, reduced to annotations. Some names I recognized. Others meant nothing. Next to a handful, terminated. My breath hitched. The images from the folders returned to me. Blurred faces, private rooms, whispers threaded through the audio. Those videos were not random. They were curated. They were a study. I yanked the power cord from the wall. The room plunged into the blackout reluctance of sudden silence. For a second, I allowed myself the illusion of safety. No screen, no chat, no authority telling me I'd obliged it. My heart slowed like a wound scabbing. 10 minutes later, I gingerly plugged it in. The laptop booted. The desktop appeared. I told myself I would never open the archive again. Then the webcam light flicked. A tiny green dot in the corner of the monitor, unnatural and immediate, like an eye-opening. The darkness of my room felt invaded. The chat hadn't needed the internet to tell me anything. They had been watching before I knew I was observed. A message appeared on the screen, typed with casual deliberation. "Welcome back. I should have closed the lid." I didn't. Instead, I typed into the black. "Who else has seen you? Tell me someone else exists." For a moment, there was silence. Then, "Others have seen. Others shared. Most stop. Some continue." The words were statistical and intimate at once. They implied an archive of failures and continuations. They implied that talking about it might spread it, and that silence might preserve it. Neither felt like safety anymore. I'm putting this into the world because I need someone to answer. If anyone has stumbled on the archive, tell me. Tell me you closed the window and never opened it. Tell me you deleted the files and never spoke of them. Tell me you aren't a ghost in someone else's protocol. Because as the webcam glowed, the chat waited. Patient, clinical, hungry. The final line before the light went steady was almost conversational, like someone adjusting gloves. "We are records. We are waiting." I stared at those words until the letters blurred. In the room's black mirror, I saw my face pale and thin. I shut the laptop when I couldn't look anymore. First, the technology misbehaved like an old machine with a temper. Small glitches, hiccups you shrugged off.
My Wi-Fi dropped for a heartbeat. A page would fail and then reload. I told myself it was stress. Then files began multiplying. Icons spawned across my desktop. Neat rows of nameless folders pulsing faintly. I didn't create them. They crawled into existence until the wallpaper was a forest of blinking boxes. My cursor drifted when I wasn't touching the mouse, sliding across files as if an invisible hand were sorting. I started recording everything. Phone camera on, audio rolling, because documentation felt like armor. When I replayed the footage, the little noises that had sounded like static resolved into syllables. "We're watching you now." It wasn't a threat so much as a statement of fact, casual and indifferent. The room changed. What had been a private space began to feel porous. Electrical sockets hummed with attention. My reflection in the dark TV looked offset, as if someone in the glass were watching an earlier version of me. Ordinary objects became suspicious. Outside, hallway noises, distant laughter, shoes on tile, threaded with other sounds. Click-clicks timed oddly with my typing. Soft rustles matched to new file icons. Once I heard a shudder through the wall, precise like someone photographing me at my desk. The landing was empty when I checked, but the air smelled wrong. Stale, like paper dampened by tea. I yanked the router plug. The internet died. The router lights went dark. For a moment I felt safe. Then the laptop woke itself up and a document filled the screen. A single line typed into an open file without my fingers. "We're watching you now." I called a friend. He suggested reformat, reinstall, practicalities to fix a rational problem. I tried. The files resisted deletion. Reformatting failed. The archive had nested itself like a parasite, and I was the host. Sleep abandoned me. At 3 a.m., I packed with frantic efficiency. Keys, wallet, phone, charger, the laptop I both feared and needed. My hands shook so badly the charger clattered.
I barricaded the door with a chair, a small, stubborn human act. I checked the peephole. The corridor was empty, but on the stairwell wall across from my door someone had taped a sheet of paper. Bold letters, freshly printed. "Do not leave." The message assumed I would see it. The sign had been placed deliberately, waiting. Panic hit like cold water. If they could tape a notice in the stairwell, their reach extended beyond code. I shoved the chair aside and ran. Down the stairs, 2 at a time, breath jagged. The stairwell air bit my lungs. Lights hummed like insect wings. I burst onto the street into wet night, trying distance as a plan. Find a cafe, a friend, the police. Anywhere with witnesses. My phone vibrated. The screen displayed one more simple message in stark font. "We see you." The words were casual, indifferent. My battery died before I could answer. I kept moving because motion felt like an ally. Reflections in dark windows held extra shapes behind me. Every passing car blinked like a shutter. Nothing is private. Nothing is safe. I thought about smashing the laptop, letting blunt force rid me of the thing nested in its circuits. Fantasy felt childish, so I kept it and walked faster, charger coiled like a talisman. Streetlights pooled on wet asphalt. The city breathed its usual indifferent breath. I tried to call my sister, the line filled with layered static that resolved into words. We see you. People passed like ghosts, unaware, and their normalcy amplified my isolation. At a bus stop, a man stared at his phone. Behind him, a billboard blinked and, for one heartbeat, showed a line of text I couldn't read before it switched back. I looked up at the building. A third-floor window flashed, then went dark. For a moment, I thought I saw motion behind the glass. A silhouette stepping away from the pane, an arm raised as if toward a camera. My chest tightened. I kept moving. My phone vibrated again with a blank message. The battery died suddenly a second later. I kept walking anyway, because motion felt like momentum against fate. Every reflection in darkened windows seemed to hold an extra shape behind me. Nothing is private anymore. Nothing is safe. I dug through files until my fingers ached. Nested folders, archives, case numbers. The deeper I went, the less it felt like a prank and more like a ledger. Old logs documented behavior in tidy columns. Timestamps, reactions, heart rate spikes from wearable telemetry, notes on vocal strain, recommended stimulus. Someone had cataloged humans the way a biologist catalogs insects. The first document had a header, project, archive. Subheaders listed collaborators, names that read like corporations and anonymous foundations, dates stretching back decades. I found memos where ethics were crossed out and clinical detachment remained. Subjects exhibited desirable compliance after phase 2. Proceed. That phrase settled in my chest like a stone. One file described scenarios I recognized. Late-night browsing, isolated users, feeds that escalate until the subject passes out. The reports called viewers, subjects, and engagement data points. The archive wasn't selling shock, it was harvesting response. There were spreadsheets, revenue from distributors, notes about clients who requested specific reactions. Terror, denial, rage. One entry read, premium package, extended observation of high-res distress response. Cost, negotiated. The commodification of fear made bile rise in my throat. Footnotes referenced the pattern. An optimization loop. Expose a subject, measure reaction, tweak stimulus, repeat. When metrics slipped, compliance waned. The ledger suggested disposal, reassign, or terminate. I closed a file and felt absurd. Laughter wanted to come, bitter and helpless, but it curdled into numbness. The internet as marketplace was ugly. People traded attention for profit. But something darker, an entity curating responses for an audience beyond comprehension, lodged under my ribs and would not budge. A buried news clipping linked a missing persons case 20 years old. Beside it, subject absorbed into archive. Closed case. Another notation suggested staged disappearances disguised as accidents. The ledger read like history edited into silence. The documents used roles. We, archivist, client, never faces. The archive had endured longer than forums or platforms. It was institutional and patient. Then a new window opened without my permission. It was not a recorded clip, but a bare feed. A familiar room snapped into focus. A chipped mug on a sill, wallpaper patterned like a memory. The timestamp ticked, live. Label, subject, active. My chest hollowed. The archive didn't merely store. It lived people in frames so observers could log reactions in real time. The feed was a conduit. Another frame flickered. A child in a room, matching a forum profile photo I'd admired weeks ago. The child sat up, turned towards something off camera, and mouthed a word I couldn't hear. The caption read, engagement, high. In the logs I found distribution notes, private collectors, research divisions, ritualistic clients. One memo used language that sounded like worship. The gift of viewing, we feed on attention. A photographed sticky note pinned to a file read, the pattern grows when we are fed. I closed the window and felt the urge to act, burn the drive, vanish. But the ledger suggested futility, names vanishing from public records, accounts that stopped posting, calls that went unanswered. The archive consumed visibility and left silence that I scrolled more. Field notes recorded cameras hidden in vents, doorbells, smart bulbs, consumer devices repurposed into observation points. A vendor list detailed how household gear was written into the network. This was not a ghost in the wires. It was a business plan that turned domestic privacy into inventory. Transcripts quoted technicians rationalizing harm. We justified it as research. In margins, a hand scrawled. After a while you stop hearing names. They're metrics. The language of denial felt like confession. My anger flared, then dulled into a colder thing: calculation. If the archive ran on patterns, perhaps patterns had seams. If attention fed it, perhaps obscurity could starve it. Those notions were thin comforts, but they were something. The map refreshed. Nodes and pings arranged themselves across a grid, and one dot pulsed near my address. Under it, a label blinked: subject, nearby. Observe. I wanted to believe I could stop it. Instead, I felt small, a single annotation in a vast experiment. We weren't browsing the deep web. It was browsing us. I sat in the dim room, feeling complacency peel away. The last folder I opened was titled Observer Reports, Client Feedback. Its entries read like market reviews: excellent return on engagement, 5-star distress metrics, will purchase ongoing access. It felt obscene, as if vultures were annotating heartbeats. I thought about exposing it all, posting the ledger under light, but the files proved a different power: the power to erase. The archive had already silenced witnesses enough that broadcasting it felt like stepping into a field of traps. The map pulsed again and focused tight on my block. A new label blinked: engagement, critical, monitor. The clinical finality made me small. I realized then that running might not be an option anymore, not safely. The map pulsed again, brighter this time, like a heartbeat synced to mine. My cursor twitched as though nudged by invisible fingers, dragging me toward a folder I hadn't opened. Its title wasn't alphanumeric, wasn't a code. It was my full name, spelled perfectly. I shouldn't have clicked, but I did. The feed loaded instantly. No buffering, no static. Just me, my room, my desk, the glow of my monitor painting my face pale. I saw my own fingers move across the keys in real time. My stomach lurched, my throat locked. It wasn't a recording. It was now. I waved a hand, hesitant, shaky. The figure on screen mirrored me exactly. There was no delay. Then, just behind my shoulder on the feed, pixels distorted. At first it looked like compression artifacts, blurs, blocks of black and red. But they sharpened into something shaped. A figure, not fully human. Its face glitched every time my eyes tried to focus, like it couldn't decide what features to wear. And then, the sound, a distorted voice, layered and warped, but threaded with a tone too intimate to mistake. Welcome back to the archive. The words didn't come from my speakers. They came from my room. I spun around. Nothing. Just shadows stretching too far, the faint hum of my router. But when I turned back, the figure on the feed was closer. I typed without thinking, half in panic, half in denial. What do you want from me? The chat overlay bled across the screen, though I hadn't opened one. Archive. You are already giving it. Me giving what? Archive. Reaction. Fear. Attention. Engagement. The pattern grows. The words scrolled in crimson, smearing like blood across glass. My pulse hammered. I wanted to rip the plug from the wall, but the feed showed me frozen in place, like it knew what I would do before I did. My reflection self didn't move. It just stared at the screen, face slack, eyes wide, while my real body shook. A horrible thought wormed in. What if I wasn't the real one? What if I was the feed, scripted into the experiment? I leaned closer, trembling. The me on screen blinked, half a second late. Not mirrored, not simultaneous. Deliberate. The voice returned, low and broken. If you're hearing this, you're already in it. I wanted to scream, but the sound caught in my chest like barbed wire. And here's the part that should make you stop listening, stop watching, stop reading. Because when I looked back at the feed again, the text scrolling across the bottom didn't just have my name. It had yours. Yes, you. Right now. It listed your device. Your timestamp. It logged your reaction. Don't believe me? Keep watching. The archive loves disbelief. It makes the final moment taste better. I don't know how much longer I can keep typing. Every keystroke feels pre-written, like the words are pouring from me, but not mine. My reflection tilts its head at angles my neck can't. Behind it, the figure waits, smiling through broken pixels. The feed whispers again, "Welcome back." And for the first time, I understand. This isn't my story anymore. It's ours. Because now, you're part of the experiment too. I shouldn't still be talking about this. Every time I repeat the story, the static grows, the cursor lags, and sometimes when I play the recording back, there's an extra voice layered under mine, soft, patient, reciting parts of the script I haven't written yet. I know how that sounds. I know the internet eats stories like this for breakfast and spits them out as entertainment. That is why I almost didn't post it. But keeping quiet felt worse, like locking a door and leaving the key inside a room that's burning. Don't search for the archive. Don't even try. Because if you've already heard me, if your eyes have tracked these words, then it's probably too late. I can't prove that with certainty, only the pattern I've watched unspool. People who stumble on the archive tick through stages: curiosity, denial, fascination, sharing. Sharing is the dangerous one that the file doesn't want only solitary witnesses. It wants an audience. It learns what moves us by watching what we watch. And if enough of us look at the same thing at the same time, the pattern grows. If you're feeling clever right now, thinking you can outsmart it, don't. I believe the same. I thought cutting connections and smashing hard drives were theatrics for people who don't actually understand how digital ecosystems work. The archive doesn't live exclusively on drives or in servers. It lives on attention. It spreads over sockets and through protocols, and then it eats the attention and grows. Cutting cables buys you minutes, maybe hours. It never buys you enough. You might wonder, what should I do? How do you survive an experiment designed to measure fear? I don't have a manual. I have crumbs of behavior I extrapolated from logs and comments, and the face is frozen in those videos. If you want to try something, if you believe it's possible to slow this, first, notice the patterns. Don't react in ways that feed spectacle. Don't record and upload. Don't tag people. Don't send links. Silence starves algorithms and rituals both. Second, seek witnesses outside the network it favors. Call someone by phone, in person if you can. Reality with other breathing people seems to disrupt its processes. Third, if a file appears, do not open. Show no curiosity. Treat the object like a contagious wound. Leave it sealed and forget its location. I'm not confident those steps will save you. The ledger suggested contingency plans for subjects who resisted, and resistance only delayed outcome. I can tell you this: denial and ignorance are not noble. They are survival tactics. If you can pretend you never heard the name, you may actually live longer without attention pinging you on its grid. I'm putting this into the world because I need someone to answer. If anyone has stumbled on the archive, tell me. Tell me you closed the window and never opened it. Tell me you deleted the files and never spoke of them. Tell me you aren't a ghost in someone else's protocol. Because as the webcam glowed, the chat waited. Patient, clinical, hungry. The final line before the light went steady was almost conversational, like someone adjusting gloves. We are records. We are waiting. I stared at those words until the letters blurred. In the room's black mirror, I saw my face pale and thin. I shut the laptop when I couldn't look anymore. Asking you to ignore this sounds impossible. The archive is built on our impulses. Every incredulous click, every share, every comment feeds the ledger. If you value silence, practice it now. Close tabs. Turn off devices. Walk outside. Smile at a neighbor you don't know. Make memories that aren't recorded. None of that is guaranteed, but if you're still reading, if you're still here, then we're both part of this experiment now. Remember that the safest thing might be to forget. But if you can't, if curiosity claws at you, then at least tell.